Hello and welcome to my Feed Table. Today I have a techniques video for you how to accurately subdivide an arc in the woodshop, mostly using the drill press. So here's my problem. I had an arc of a given pivot point, radius, arc length of about 60 degrees, and along that circumference I want to drill in 15 evenly spaced holes. So long story short, I made a dividing plate that sits on the drill press, has a movable platform which moves the workpiece across the drill press table. Now before we get too far, I need to make clear that full inspiration and credit for this idea go to ClickSpring. Check out his channel, smash his like button and subscribe. He has tons of amazing content. Let's zoom in and check this thing out. So for someone of average skill level, me, drilling lots of little holes evenly into plywood is a pretty hard thing to do. This was an earlier test piece, and I had walked out these holes using my dividers along the arc, made little punches in each one. And as I drilled each on the drill press, the bit would wander. I guess I would miss the little mark sometimes, and the spacing is pretty bad. So I put my thinking cap on and remembered a video that Chris had done where he was making a series of itty bitty gears for one of his projects. And so his dividing plate was a full circle with a series of rings on it, with each of the rings having different numbers of teeth laid out on them. And then those larger rings were then used to mark the locations of the gear teeth on this series of small gears. So my dividing plate is a much simpler version of that. And you can tell it's a woodworking jig because it's made out of scrap MDF and it has at least one toggle clamp on it. So here are the parts. It starts with a base with a 1/4 bolt mounted up into the bottom of it, super glued into place. Here's the platform, pivots on there with its toggle clamp. Here's my pin. The pin is very important. The pin is used, just goes through here into the arm end of the platform, and is used to locate into each of the holes on the base. So the pin is a piece of 1/8 inch brass. This is stuff that I just got from the hardware store. And as you can see, I have a fairly fine point shaped onto it. I did this on my wood lathe with a high-speed steel scraper. It worked really well. But in a pinch, you can also use your drill press to sand away a point like this. I did a test piece and it worked pretty well. I just took a piece of 120 grit sandpaper against a hard backer board, and then with this chucked up into the drill press, just worried away at an angle down at the bottom, and eventually I got enough material worn away. But if you have a wood lathe, this works better, I think, because you can get a nice sharp point on it. So here's how I laid out the arc. So I have my arc of a known arc, or of a known length. Got that clamped in here, and then I put this guy on the drill press, and I just located the drill bit on the one side of the arc, and then just whopped in my locating pin on just some arbitrary place on the base plate. And then I moved the platform down until the drill bit went into this other hole, and then boop, whopped in my locating pin down there. And then using my dividers, I simply marked out the 13 holes in between these other two. So I have 15 total holes with 14 subdivisions. And a quick tip for finding the first position for your dividers, I just took my tape measure and just found the rough arc length on here just by laying the tape measure on and bending it a little bit. And then I divided that by 14, and that gave me a pretty good starting point for the dividers. So in my case, my indicator holes are nothing more than just this locating pin being pounded into the MDF. These are are not drilled in. So what that gets me is, because the hole is the exact same shape as the original pin, it's a very firm, very non-wiggly seating there when this thing goes around. It gives me a very confident feel that this platform is in the exact place. So let's hop over to the drill press and I'll show you this thing in action. So I have a piece of scrap plywood clamped into the jig. Right now everything is free floating. So I'm going to start by putting my locating pin into the very first hole on the jig, right there. Now I'm going to locate the jig such that the drill bit is going directly into my starter hole. And I'm looking for minimal rubbing in the sides of the hole as I test it. That seems pretty good. And I'm going to clamp the whole jig down to the table. So operation's pretty straightforward. I'm going to power on the drill press and drill a series of holes going this way. If you notice, I only have the starter hole pre-drilled. I don't have the ending hole pre-drilled. That's because this final hole is going to be determined by my jig. Even though I sort of knew that arc length beforehand, the hole on my little template was really just a guide for it. The true length is determined by the jig. So let's get started. So this one's already drilled, and we'll move to position number 2. Spot it a little bit, just in case it wants to wander. All right, number 3. Damn it. Well, as you can see, I didn't have this set up very well, and my platform was running into my clamping jig. But let's see how I did. Those didn't go all the way through. Well, geez, this plywood is junk. Man, it didn't take a good hole. But the spacing looks really good. So, there you have it. Well, I don't expect everyone to be making parts like these. I hope this video has at least helped you solve similar problems in your own shop. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks for watching.